Hello, everyone. I am excited that you guys have joined us tonight to learn about some free tech that you guys can use in your classroom. I'm so excited that you are interested in gaining resources that you can use in your classroom, and hopefully some of these resources, these applications, you'll be able to figure out how you can implement into your projects or different daily activities. Before we get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is April Clark. I am the executive director and co-founder of a nonprofit educational program called Reach and Teach. Reach and Teach began 3 years ago. And from that time, it started as a program where we allowed the opportunity for students to plan, promote, and execute a real concert on their school campus. Obviously, during the pandemic, we can't really do that. So we have expanded to include so many different avenues where we can support teachers and provide resources. One of those avenues is every single month, we host a new professional development workshop that we record. It's available for playback. Teachers can watch at their own discretion. And I'm so glad that you guys have joined me live tonight. So that's a little bit about me. At any point, if you guys have questions all throughout this workshop, feel free to drop those into the chat. We'll also do a Q&A at the end of the workshop to where you can unmute yourself and ask questions if you would rather do that. So there is a worksheet, not a worksheet, a guide that goes along with this workshop. And I'm going to drop that into the chat right now so that you guys can have it. Let me make sure I can find it. I told you I have it, so I hope I didn't lie to you guys. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. So I dropped that into the chat. It's a PDF. You guys can download that, and maybe that'll kind of help you follow along throughout this workshop. Think about ways that you can incorporate some of these apps into your classroom. So I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. As mentioned, today we're learning about free EdTech that you can use in your classroom. We're going to talk about 4 of my favorite applications. You may have seen these before, but I'm going to tell you about ways that I use them in my classroom. I forgot to mention, I used to be a high school marketing teacher. So I'm going to tell you about some of the projects that I've used these applications with, and some of these applications I use now in my nonprofit work, and I think they would be great tools for teachers to use in their classroom as well. So we're going to talk about ClickUp, we're going to talk about Mentimeter, Canva, and Sway. So let's start with ClickUp. ClickUp is a project management tool. This is like having a virtual Kanban board that will allow you to help students organize the task that they have to do in relation to whatever project you have them working on in the classroom. So it's all about project management. One thing, when I was a teacher, I always wanted to incorporate ways for my students to understand that in the real world, they're having to work with other departments, with other people that may not be doing the same task as them. So figuring out within group work, within your classroom, which students are assigned to which task, and this ClickUp will help them keep track of that. It's also a great way for students to keep track of their own task list, maybe different assignments that they have due for your classroom. It will help them keep organized. And we all know any application that can help students become more organized is a win-win for everyone involved. Also large projects. I'm not sure if you do large projects in your classroom that maybe take several weeks, maybe even an entire semester. ClickUp is great for large projects because it will allow you, the teacher or the project manager, in this case, to be able to see exactly what tasks students are working on and which ones that they have completed. And again, this is real world. this is something that I use every single day with my team that we work with at Reach and Teach. So ClickUp project management is definitely skills that are real world that your students will need to be successful in the future. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of screenshots of what ClickUp looks like. So this is a screenshot from ClickUp. You can see that on your dashboard in ClickUp, this is one area where you can see a graphic of exactly which students, in this case, these are our team members. So this is a real screenshot from our ClickUp, but you can see exactly what your team or your students are working on. And you can see how many tasks are assigned to your students, and it just gives you a great visual graphic of, you know, who's doing the most work. So the next thing is a screenshot. This is where the Kanban board comes into play. If you're not familiar with the Kanban board strategy, it's basically a strategy that large corporations use to manage projects where they have a list of tasks that need to be done, a list of tasks that are currently being worked on, so in progress, and then a list of tasks that have already been completed. So you can see on this screenshot, we have open, in progress, in review, and then closed. You can actually change those titles. You know, it might say something like open or turned in or checked for errors. You can change those titles to anything that would fit whatever project you would have your students working on. And then the best part is you can see in the screenshot, you can assign tasks to different people. So let's say, for example, right here where it says December bank reconciliation, you can see that that task is assigned to a person with the initials BW. So you can get a visual of who is supposed to be doing what, and if they are currently working on it or if they've already completed it. I absolutely love ClickUp. It has saved my team so much time, and it's just a great way to learn virtual communication. So if there's ways that you can incorporate it into your classroom with whatever projects that you're working on, I would highly recommend it. The best thing about ClickUp is, oh, I forgot this too. So you can also assign different categories. So for us at Reach and Teach, we have these 5 main categories that we work in: fundraising, public relations, marketing, programs, and operations. So for example, if you had a project that your class was working on, you might have one labeled as planning and logistics, or graphic design, or budgeting, or whatever different committees or different groups of students that you would group together. You could have a different heading, a different category listed for them, and all of their tasks would be organized into those different categories. So I really love that. My favorite things about ClickUp is you can see the task. You can track the task. Task tracking is awesome through this. So you can actually see what students are working on. Another thing that I love is your task assignment. So being able to assign different students different tasks, and not just you as a teacher assigning different tasks, but any of the students that are working on the project would be able to assign tasks to other students. So really, in reality, the best thing, or the best way to utilize this, is if you had the students act as the project managers, to where they're assigning tasks and they're organizing this and actually using it exactly like they would in the real world. Again, it's a virtual Kanban board. There is tons of tutorials and training videos in ClickUp. In fact, when you sign up for ClickUp, you get a whole slew of onboarding videos that will teach you and your students how to best utilize ClickUp. What are some different options and ways that you can use ClickUp? So that, I really love that aspect of it. There's a lot of support that comes along with it. There's a lot of video training that comes along with it. So that's ClickUp. I love ClickUp. let's move on to Mentimeter. You've probably used Mentimeter before. I've used Mentimeter at different conferences and workshops with the attendees there. And I've also been to a lot of conferences and workshops where the presenter has used Mentimeter. This is just a virtual way to engage with your audience. So obviously in this case, your audience is your students. So this is a great way for you to engage virtually with your students. It can be done in a virtual classroom setting or in a traditional classroom setting. So by brainstorming, you could use this for bell work or maybe exit tickets for your students before they leave the class. You can use it to check and see who is paying attention. Maybe you've just discussed a certain concept and you could present a question and students have to answer the question, and it will show the results in real time on whatever presentation, if you're using a projector or whatever you're using to present the presentation, your students will be able to see in real time the results, and you'll be able to see in real time the results. So that's really cool. It's a presentation software, so there's different slides, but every single slide is an active engagement slide. So it's not just information on a slide like a PowerPoint or Google Slides. Students are actually able to virtually interact. The way it works is you give your students a link or a code, and students can, they actually can use their cell phone, a tablet, a computer, a laptop, whatever device. Students can use that to go to the link, type in the code, and then they will be able to submit whatever answer or brainstorming element that you're trying to get them to engage with. So here's a few screenshots of different ways that you could use Mentimeter. You might have your students rate something. So they can choose different ratings for certain phrases or concepts or elements. You could use it with brainstorming. So this question here, what did we do in today's lesson? This is just an attention check. Maybe this is something that you have the students answer before they can leave the class. One thing that I really love about this is it's anonymous. So the students' names don't show up on the screen. So a lot of times when you have those shy students, maybe the students that don't like to speak up, this gives them a voice in their class to feel comfortable in submitting their answers or submitting their ideas if you're doing some type of brainstorming session. So the view could look like this, where it's just bubbles that pop up. You could also do the word graphics here, to where students submit words and it puts them in a word image. You can also have them answer a question and it shows the results as a bar graph and several other different graphs too. So what are my favorite aspects of Mentimeter? Number one, you can download the results into a PDF file after it's finished. So for example, maybe you have a presentation that has 5 slides, you ask some questions, or you have students, submit their ideas. Well, this will allow you to download the results so that you have all of those ideas saved on your computer, or if you wanted to print them out, you would have them all available for use. I've already mentioned that it's completely anonymous, so students can feel comfortable submitting their answers. And then, of course, students love to be able to utilize their cell phones in the classroom. I know that was always a big challenge for me when I was teaching, is what is the balance between allowing students to use technology, but also making sure that they're paying attention. So anytime that I could find an application to where students were able to use their cell phones in a productive way, an educational way, that was always a big win for me in the classroom. And students got excited about this. So through Mentimeter, students are able to submit their answers or engage with you virtually by using their cell phones or tablet or Chromebook, whatever you have. Okay, so that's Mentimeter. The next one is Canva. I know this one is really, really popular, and chances are you've probably heard of it. You probably have used it in your classroom, but this is my all-time favorite, absolute favorite ed tech because it is so versatile. You can literally use it for thousands of projects in your classroom. It's just a creative way for an easy, simple way for students to publish graphics or documents or presentations. It's an easy way for students to learn graphic design, maybe to create collages, even to create presentations. So maybe your students are tired of the same templates that they find in Google Slides or in Microsoft PowerPoint. Well, Canva has tons and tons of templates that students are able to use. They can incorporate video and audio into their presentations, just like they would be able to with Google Slides or Microsoft Office. Also, they can create portfolios. There's tons of templates for resumes and business cards and logos and you name it. Chances are there's a template on Canva available for you. So let's go through a couple of things with Canva. First of all, again, this is an application that has tons of training available for both teachers and for students. There's different courses that you can take where you can learn about graphic design basics and personal branding, how to create visual pleasing presentations. There's so many different tutorials where you can watch but not just watch, but also do along with the tutorial. So it will take you through step by step how to create a document or a business card or whatever it is. It's very step by step. It's easy to learn. So there's lots of educational support through Canva, which I absolutely love. Also, as mentioned before, there's thousands upon thousands of templates. So each one of these images here are a template. Now you can see in the corner of some of them, you can see there's like a dollar sign. So some of these are only with the Pro version, which every single application that I've talked about so far has a free version, but of course they also have a paid version. But with Canva, what's really unique is even if you selected one of these paid templates, you don't have to pay to use the template. There's just certain elements that might be only available with the Pro. So maybe the picture is part of the Pro, and you could just simply change out the picture, or maybe the font, and you could just simply change the font. It doesn't mean you can't use the template. It just means you can't download it if it has paid elements. So you can still use it and just switch out the paid elements and easy peasy, you'd be able to download it. So these are templates for presentations. But you can see that there's all different kinds of designs. This was a great way for my students to really spark their creativity. So if you think about projects that you have in the classroom, one of my favorite things that I used to do is we would always, when we talked about goal setting, I would have my students create vision boards. And so with vision boards, let me make sure. Oh, I actually have a slide for this later, but one of the projects I would have my students create vision boards, which could be really difficult if they had never used like Microsoft Publisher or Adobe Photoshop. Well, those weren't really elements that I was teaching in my classroom. I was teaching about goal setting. And so something like Canva, which is very simple, it's drag and drop. They quickly were able to choose a template or choose a grid pattern, and they were able to implement different pictures, different designs very quickly to create their vision boards. So it's a very simple application to learn and to use. Here's a few things that are available through Canva. You can see that they have different lines to choose from, shapes, different frames, stickers. There's actually a ton more. There's audio, there's video, there's backgrounds. You can see there's tons of different fonts. These are just a few of them. But it's a really creative way for students to use their creativity. It's an easy, simple way for students to use their creativity to complete whatever type of project you want to implement. You can also see that there's tons of photos available, free to use. Of course, as mentioned before, there's some that you do have to pay for on there. But there's thousands of free photos. You can also upload your own photos to be able to implement into the publishing element. So these are some examples of templates that students could use for vision boards. You can see that these both templates are grids, and they could just simply drag and drop different pictures or different colors, different fonts to include in their vision boards, or really any other project that you incorporate into your class. So what are some of my favorite things about Canva? Number one, and I didn't put this on here, but the fact that it's so easy to use. It's simple to learn. They have so many resources that will take you through tutorials, and it's drag and drop. There's thousands of templates, but best of all is it automatically saves your work. If you have ever taught in a classroom, which I know all of you have, you know how frustrating it can be when you have a student that said, I guess it didn't save. You don't run into that problem here. It automatically saves onto the online account, and it's easy to share. So it's very simple for your students to share their design, share their project with you through email or through a link. It's very, very simple process. Okay, so that's Canva. I absolutely love Canva. I would highly encourage you to check it out and utilize it in your classroom. And I have to tell you, my students absolutely love Canva too. We did everything from creating concert tickets, prom invitations, flyers for FBLA to business cards, you name it, we have created it on Canva. So lots of cool things to check out. So the next thing is Sway. This one is pretty new to me, but I'm very impressed with its capabilities. And it's endless how you could use this with projects in your classrooms. So many times we might have students do a book report or write an essay or, turn in a portfolio, whatever it is. But Sway allows students to create really professional looking documents in a very simple way. So Sway is part of Microsoft, but it's available online. It's completely free. And so, that's always good. Free is good. But several things that you could do with it are resumes. You could create blogs, newsletters, presentations. One thing that I always did with my students is I would have them create newsletters about a certain concept or a certain topic that they had learned about that week. So they might have been learning about pricing strategies or sponsorships. And I taught business, so that's just what I knew or know. But at the end of the week, I would have my students create a newsletter that talked about the different concepts. Maybe it would include a news article, a picture, maybe even a quote from another student. But they would have to incorporate all of these different elements that highlighted the concepts that they had learned for that week or for that unit. So that was just a really good way for me to assess what students were actually learning or paying attention to. But they would have to create newsletters using Word, and that wasn't too fun for them. So when I came across Sway earlier this year, I thought this is really neat, and it's an easy way for students to do that. So what does Sway look like? Again, it has lots of templates that you can choose from. You can see on the screen that they have blogs, presentations, portfolios, newsletters, resumes, several, and these are just a handful of the templates that are available. And they're all very different from each other, but also very easy to use. So the next screen, again, just like Canva, there's all kinds of images and videos that you can incorporate into your project, whatever your project is that you're working on. And then there's also tons of different styles where you can easily change a newsletter or a document that you've already typed out, you've already completed, with a simple click of the button, you can completely change the entire document to that different style and see what it looks like. So this next screen will kind of show you, and I just did like a very quick sample of what a resume template looked like on here, but you can see each one of these boxes is a different box that you can actually move around and drag to different sections of your newsletter, or in this case, this is the resume. But you can type it out. You can choose to emphasize or include bullet points or numbers. You can also include links. When you click on this green plus sign here, you can choose to include pictures or text, several different elements that would automatically appear. So there's two different views on Sway. One is called the storyline. This is where you create. The storyline is where you include all of your text, all of your pictures. That's where you change the information around. You can change the order of your content very easily in storyline. And then the second view is called design. And that is where you can go in and choose the different styles. You can choose to where it changes your fonts and your styles, and you get a great visual presentation. One of the coolest things about Sway is you can take a document, like with this resume that is in front of you, which obviously it's not completed. I just wanted to show you guys a template. But you could take the resume template and you can easily, with just the click of a button, transition the document into a presentation. Or you could transition it into a blog or into a newsletter. Very easy with the click of a button. So I thought that was a really cool element that I had not used before in any other applications. And I thought that would be something really neat that students could choose how they wanted to share whatever project it is with you. If they wanted to do a presentation or a document, whichever way is going to be the best. It's all very professional. In looking at the templates, you can go through all the different templates and designs. It is a simple, easy way for your students to create a very professional design in a short amount of time. And again, one of my favorite elements is it's automatically saves and it's super easy to share. So it would be very easy for students to share a link or share through email their project with you as a teacher. So I want to make sure that I leave time for all of your wonderful questions. But these are 4 of my favorite free applications that I have used in my classroom and that I think would be a great way for you guys to implement different creative elements for your students to execute projects in maybe different ways. So every single month, as I mentioned, we host professional development sessions. You can see a full list of sessions that are coming up on Eventbrite. You can also see them on our website, which is available here. You guys jot down my information, send me an email, reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, anywhere that you can find Reach and Teach. We love to support teachers. So any way that we can support you guys, definitely let us know. And just a reminder, I did drop a little guide into the chat so you guys can download that and maybe start thinking about different ways that you can use these applications in your class to enhance some of the projects that you already have, or maybe you have not implemented yet. So, okay, we do have a question. Will you be sending a link to rewatch later? Yes, I will follow up with you guys. I will send out an email and that will have not only a link for you guys to rewatch or share, but it will also have a certificate of completion that you guys can use for any professional development hours that you need. And I'll also send in that email as well the guide for this workshop if you want to think about different ways that you can use the application. So if you guys have questions, you can drop them into the chat or feel free to unmute yourselves and we can chat right here tonight.